Welcome back to the Lead Company Countdown. To kick off, the Titans trust their home stadium to Lead Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home too. Your next play, visit leadcompany.com. Lead Company, all you need. We were just talking about what we ate for Thanksgiving, and I had mentioned turducken is what you see after every NFL game on Thursday. You know, it was a John Madden thing, and so my husband's brother wanted that for Christmas or for Thanksgiving, so we had it. Now I didn't. That wasn't my cup of tea, but you know, I guess they liked it.
I'm trying to think of who was on Thursday night this past weekend, because they were eating a turducken and they looked like they were killing
Detroit.
It was
and who Detroit played? The Cowboys.
Yeah.
No, not the Cowboys.
Cowboys played the Giants.
Late game.
Dolphins.
Dolphins?
It was whoever the Dolphins played. I can't remember who it was. But anyway,
they were in Green Bay.
They were enjoying. That's who it was.
Yeah.
It was Jordan Love.
Yes,
Jordan Love was enjoying the heck out of some turducken.
Yeah, because those drumsticks part of it, they're real, like, I guess they're just like tender. So that's why
they were eating the sides too, though, Kayla. They were eating the mac and cheese. Yes, they had the forks down there. Matter of fact, they let them take the whole tray into the locker room so everyone could enjoy the meal. Yeah, it was.
I always wondered down there, do they really like this, or are they just putting on a show?
They sat there and ate
it's
it.
So good, you know.
I don't know.
They sat right there and ate that meal.
Have we ever played on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, we played
one time.
Did you?
I think just one time.
Yeah,
really? Do you remember who it was?
I think it was Dallas. We played Dallas.
We played
was
Dallas.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, watch this. Did we win?
Watch this, he says.
Was I there? Was I there?
Yes, you were there because I was there. So I'm trying to think. We had a really good record against the Cowboys, except for that first year.
Yeah, we did.
Because listen, playing the Cowboys, Blaine will tell you, that was our Super Bowl.
Sure.
Because they owned the state of Texas. We were like the stepchild down there in the bayou, you know what I mean? So, you know, all the love that they got. Remember when we used to have to practice them in Burger Field in Austin, right? We would show up in our game gear, like our game jerseys and stuff, and they would show up in their practice gear.
Man, and we would get in a fight every year.
Every year we got in a fight with the Cowboys.
Now, but
I love that.
Yeah, it did stop all
But even when we played them in regular season, when we did, we beat them.
Heck
and that was the year when they went on a run where they won 3 in a row. They thought it was going to be all Texas Super Bowl because we won 11 in a row. Our rookie year.
I just like the fact that you guys pretty much owned them at that point. So
it was funny, but they win Super Bowl.
Yeah, they did.
Weird? Man,
I guess they did.
It's
not anymore, though. That's a story for another day. I tell you that. I bet on the Cowboys though and won this weekend, so I'll take that.
What made you do that?
I think
because they were playing horrible.
They were. I can't remember who I took them against. I can't even remember who they played now. It was the Giants don't even know who their quarterback. I mean, they're playing with
No, Drew Lock was in.
Started.
Got hurt.
And it was just Trash Town USA. So.
But you know what? They're getting what they deserve because they got rid of Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. So
yeah.
That's a big hit.
I guess you could have those problems, but the Titans are focused on getting those problems resolved. And one of those earlier in the season was Will Levis. And he even admitted that he needed to rewire his brain after those 2 games to start the season. And then obviously he got hurt. So he sat down, he kind of reevaluated things. He talked about it a lot this week and how it helped him seeing the game from a different perspective. So Levis has a completion percentage of 68 with 748 yards passing, 5 TDs over the last 3 games. And Brian Callahan spoke about it, said he has definitely been pleased with it. He said there's been a calming presence to him now. And I wonder, because Blaine, you had mentioned this, in some situations, not everybody just starts off well. And some players, they've got to go through adversity. How much do you feel like that situation might have helped him see things from a different perspective and, know that when I'm out there, I can't get too overwhelmed?
Yeah. Well, I had talked about my own experience there when he got injured, that I thought this was going to help him because quarterback is more mental than any other position because you're controlling so many different things and you always have the ball in your hand. So I learned so much when I stood on the sideline when I got injured. I was like, man, it gave me a whole different perspective as a safety, being kind of, seeing how all the pitchers and where everybody's supposed to fit and what everybody's job is and where I can cheat and where I can't. And so that's just the safety position. So that helped me grow. And so I thought it would. Now, ultimately, you got to go back out on the field and execute. So, but I'm talking about more mentally and giving him a different perspective from a different lens. So hopefully it seems like it did. And then, he's got his temperament in the right space, in the head space, and probably had to learn not to listen to, all the noise on social media and everything else, kind of sit back and reset your mindset. And got to remember now, he's running a new offense with new pieces, and this is the first time he's running live plays. And so I felt like it would be a great opportunity for him to do well, and he has. So let's just see if he can continue this consistency along this path. And what's really, interesting is the team had to deal with some adversity and some sloppy play last week, both teams, and they kept fighting and got over the hump. So will they then go into this game with a little more, let's say, I want to give the word edgy confidence to cocky, to like, we know we're good. Our record, now we're hitting our stride. Let's make this happen. I thought really it happened, even though they lost to the Vikings, that was one of the better teams in the National Football League this season, and that even in a loss shows that we can play with the best in the league. And so then that led to the Texans win, who I felt like were kind of down and out, but I didn't know they would, I still have a lot of weapons. I thought they still had enough
and
to beat the
home,
Titans.
right?
And they were at home. So, and they do that on the road for, you know how much this means to this organization. So, yeah, Levis, we shall see if he can keep the uptick. You think he can be hot?
I know that we're talking a lot about him retooling his thought process and whatnot. That really, in my opinion, has little to do with his success. Mm-hmm. To me, it's really about he and Brian Callahan being on the same page. Because Brian Callahan is now able to draw up some things that he feels Will Levis can handle and can operate successfully. I mean, he has some tendencies, some things that he likes to call on offense. He had Joe Burrow to help him, see those things to fruition. But now in this new offense, he has a quarterback that he has to cater some of his ideas to, and they're starting to figure each other out. Now, in that space, I think that you're starting to see Will Levis feel more confident with what he's running because he and Brian Callahan are on the same page. And the success that he has, whether it's the explosive plays, whether it's just getting the ball out of his hands, whether it's not committing turnovers, that allows him to play comfortably. Because when he was playing uncomfortably was when he was what? Trying to avoid sacks, getting that ball out of his hands quick and giving the ball to the defense, doing those things that manic quarterbacks do that cause them problems. But since he's more calm and understands exactly more of what,
so he did have to change his mindset because he's more calm. He was trying to force
but it also had
the
to do
issue.
with it also had to do with what Callahan feels comfortable to be able to call in the position that he puts him in. It's not like Will Levis is out there dialing up his own plays and all of a sudden retools his thinking to run the plays that he's calling. He's calling what Brian Callahan and he are designing offensively to be able to have some success. So I think that does take a lot of pressure off of him, feeling like he needs to go out there and win the ball game. I think that, and Brian Callahan now is saying, hey, look, I have a quarterback that is confident enough, that's calm enough in this pocket to where I can put more on his plate and allow him to go out there and do some of the things that I would like to see done in my offense.
Yeah. I think he's done less. I think he's taken less off his plate because he's learned what he is capable of when they do that. And that's then put him in the mindset of he is comfortable. I think he was making all the adjustments before, and he had a lot of stuff going around in his head, and he was treating him like he was a veteran, proven quarterback. He was not that. He was a developing quarterback. They were learning each other, and that's where he had to get his headspace right with what he needed to do, watching from the sideline.
Yeah, more on his play in that, look, we don't have to be pedestrian with you, Will Levis. I can do more things that I would expect an experienced quarterback to be able to do. So when I say more on his plate, it's just the evolution of what Brian Callahan has in his mind to run offensively. I don't have to have the training wheels on you. Mm-hmm. So when I say more on his plate, I'm not saying that you're putting more into the hands of his responsibilities as a quarterback. It's just him understanding more of what it is that I like to run, so that way we can continue to move the chains and stay on the field as an offense.
Yeah.
Good example of that, Callahan even admitted, I think it was this last game or 2 games ago, he said himself at the presser that I had to remind him here, this is 3rd down, don't force anything, we're in field goal range. So that shows you he is now treating him like he's a young player in this new offense and just giving him, he's actually kind of, monitoring him along the way until he then fully trusts him to run things without telling him. Because a veteran quarterback, you don't have to tell him that. So that's what I'm talking about, more so that than them getting, him changing his mindset. It's also that part of I think they assume when you watch film and tape that he had everything, pretty much already squared away on that end of it. He was still a young player, very talented player. So more so that than anything else.
Do you remember that instance where Brian Callahan was looking at Will Levis when he came off the field after he made a turnover and he said, "What the are you doing?"
Yeah, he didn't
I
do
don't
that.
see those.
Well, he didn't do that this
When's
time.
the last time you've seen a situation like that between those two, to where they just are really asking the question, bro, are you trying to lose this ball games? Of course you're not trying to, but you're doing things that are.
About that. And and Callahan even said, no, he came to the sideline after that interception that he threw last weekend against the Texans. And what did he do? Calmed down, flushed it, and then what did he found Chig, I think, Okonkwo, when he went back out there for that 70-yard touchdown. So that's progress in its own right of being able to kind of maneuver through that adversity, because it's going to happen.
Absolutely,
defenses are good. They're going to make plays. But you got to be able to come back and answer at times, and that's what he's been doing. And speaking of Levis, too, we've seen a little bit more of the Levis that maybe we saw last year in those two big games in Miami, Atlanta, and that big arm, and what made all people go ooh and ah. He's completed 8 passing plays of at least 20 yards or over in the past 3 weeks, including 3 in each of the previous 2 games. So those are things too where you're starting to say, okay, once they start to feel comfortable with each other too, and Levis is doing the other little things right, you will see some of those plays get drawn up where you have the big arm.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's because they're learning one another. Also, his confidence is growing too, and that he understands that his head coach has his back, and now they keep plugging along, and next thing you know, things are going to start evolving, and it's all going to come together in one game, and hopefully it'll be this game sooner than later where he hits on all cylinders and everything is working right. And that's not to say you don't still make mistakes, but I think once you get a certain confidence level in the National Football League, when you do have mistakes and you do go awry, those things don't bother you as much. But when you're still a proven player, B-Op can adjust this himself. When we first were rookies, or our first time, at least for me, when I got out there and I was starting, then things kept getting better. I was mad at myself for making a mistake here or there, then the third start, then the fourth start. Your confidence grows, and then you are able to take those risks that you need to take within your position and then still have success, whether you have some failures along the way.
100%. I was a rookie starter. I remember experiencing some of those anxieties of even questioning myself if I can understand the speed and the pace of this game, all these veterans that are taking advantage of me. And then you've progressed to the next, 10, 11, 12, 13 years, and I'm not even near the player that I was as a rookie because I understand the game from a different space.
Yeah.
If something did go wrong, it's like, oh, well, because I experienced so much between there that it didn't cause me those anxieties that I experienced as a young player, because I'm sitting there just still trying to figure it out. And that's what Will Levis is going through. He's going to his second year. He understands a little bit more every single time he steps on the field, what his responsibilities are. He's gaining confidence because he's having success. And those are the things that you need. You need to see yourself incrementally getting better. And then that way you can go out there and just say, hey, look, you know what? At the end of the day, things are going to happen. And you have to be able to weather those storms and keep yourself in the same mindset that, allows you to have the success that you had when you first started. So.
Very good point. Speaking of, maybe having that mindset, I feel like J.C. Latham this entire season has been pretty consistent, right? He's had that mindset even as a rookie to come in and learn and get better. Last week, a little bit of a struggle with him. Pro Football Focus officially credited Latham with allowing 2 sacks and 5 pressures. Now, you don't have to go by that if you don't want, but it is something to at least base something on. His pass blocking score was a 29.2. Definitely the worst of his campaign so far this season, guys. But what Callahan said this week, I liked. He said he really loved how J.C. Latham responded all week in practice. And if anyone's going to bounce back from a performance, I feel like it's going to be a guy like J.C. Latham. What are we expecting this week today, I should say, from the Cowboys? Pass rush, that front, which, by the way, only got to Cooper Rush last weekend once in terms of sack.
Yeah, the Commanders.
Yeah, first off, he's not going against Will Anderson this week.
Or Hunter, right?
It was Alabama on Alabama crying.
I know.
So
Man.
He doesn't have near the formidable pass rushers this week that he had last week. And that familiarity between the two, that does play into the whole thing. I mean, he understands how good Will Anderson is. They have battled each other when they were young players in practice. So I'm sure there was some of that revisionist history. Like, oh my God, I remember going against this guy all the time in Tuscaloosa, and it wasn't always fun. And now that we're all getting paid handsomely for what we're doing out here, and this dude's we're on the stage of divisional opponents. So yeah, I'm sure that there was some things in there. But now here's an uncommon opponent. Someone that you see very rarely in an NFC opponent. You know what I mean? So he can get back to those same things that he was doing before. And I think that JC has had enough success to this point to kind of go back and say, yes, I am a good player.
Yeah.
Sometimes you stub your toe, but I'm not going to sit here holding my ankle and screaming all day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So because he has had, some pretty good play up to this point, I think it's easier for him to then put what happened to him last week in the rear view and start picking up where he left off before that game.
Yeah. Well, it depends on his mental makeup. Some guys don't put it in review. Some people put it right in front of their face and said, I play like crap, and that's why I'm going to practice hard this week, and I'm going to get back to the drawing board, and I'm going to find out what my weaknesses were in this actual game and learn from this process. Just depend on what he's all about, and some people just put it in review and forget about it. I was the one who liked to look at things, learn, and grow from those failures and having those. Because guess what? You got to know that they're watching film. The next opponent, whether they're as good or as talented them or not, everybody is talented, but maybe some are more talented than others. And this group was the Texans were. But you also want to look and see where the holes were. Hopefully, then I can be astute enough, as well as my O-line coach can help me through this process of what I was actually doing wrong, so I don't show those holes moving forward and I grow and learn from them. I think he's that type of guy, really mature for a rookie offensive lineman, rookie in this league. So, he's going to stub his toe when you start having and I wanted to see him against an elite pass rusher all this season, because he really hadn't faced a guy that's going one-on-one like this all game long. So this was a unique time. And, he failed the test, but guess what? We shall see how he responds.
When I say put it in the rear view, you look in your rear view to see what it is you just ran over. What just gave you the flat tire? You learn more from your experiences, of course, than you do from your wins when you lose like that. I truly believe that. I learned more from the failures that I had than any success I ever had. So when I say put it in the rear view, I mean, don't make that such a problem for you that you're sitting there worrying over it. But
there are some guys who do, though.
Yeah, I think that with this situation, he is the kind of confident player, in my opinion, because he has played so well that he can just look back. Was that a speed bump or was that a dog I just hit? You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So that's why I say put it in the rear view. It's because he's not focusing on that in his windshield. Yeah. He's now taking the things that come to him more, every single week, and say, hey, look, you know what? This is what happened to me last week. I'm learning from that. It's in the rear view. Let's get better.
Right. What did you see actually in the forefront against the Texans? What did he look like?
Because this is what happens. When you're a young player, you get grabby. The first thing you want to do is you want to extend your arms, get your hands out there, and you want to try and get your hands on that guy as fast as you can.
Yep.
What is Will Anderson's best tool? Swipe.
With the hands.
Exactly.
Knock those hands right off.
But didn't he see that in film?
Yeah, of course he did. But when you're sitting there, when you're mad, if you give up one sack, you're thinking, I got to get this guy. I got to get my hands on him.
That's what happens. You get panicky.
See,
that's what happens to the DB, too.
I remember there was a couple of young guys I would be going up against as a pass rusher, right? And I'm listening to the old guys that had gone up against me, and they were trying to coach their young guys that were pass rushing against me. They're saying, B-Hop's not going to give you his hands. Because I'm not going to give you my hands, because that's what you want me to do. Your pass rush is predicated off of me giving you my hands. But as patient as I can be and only extend my arms at the last second when I have to, that's an advantage for me, because you're trying to figure out what I'm trying to do. I'm not going to give you my outside hand so you can knock down and go around me. I'm not going to give you my inside hand so you can spin back inside and go in, especially if I'm by myself. So as I patiently wait in my stance and wait for you to commit yourself to me, that's an advantage that I have. And you have to learn it as an older player to have that kind of calm to say, look, I don't have to give him a jump out, reach out there and grab my hands and let this guy do his pass rush against me. So that's what JC did. He just got a little over his skis a little bit. I saw him short-setting
a lot, and I thought that was a disadvantage as well. Well, like immediately then going lateral and attacking in pass set instead of retrieving. And then getting and flashing hands. He was doing that, and I know impatience sometimes. When you get beat, you start doing things you don't normally do. But I did see that.
A short set is determined by where the guy is. If he's out wide in a 9 technique, you can't short set him because he's got a free run at the quarterback. At a different angle. Short setting a guy is like he's right there on my shoulder. Okay. And I don't have to go, kicking 2 and 3 steps back because that just creates a natural crevice between me and my guard and puts me out there on an island by myself. When they say tackles are on an island, they are. But they don't have to be. You see what I'm saying? You can play close enough to your guard if the guy is lined up near your shoulder to say, hey, look, I'm still an extension of this offensive line. I don't have to fly out here and all of a sudden create a space that he gives him a two-way go
and
to get to the
happened.
quarterback. And sometimes he did that. But, I think for the most part, he read what Will was doing. He just get his hands out there, trying to get his hands on Will. Because you know what? Most defensive line will tell you, if one of these monsters like J.C. Latham gets them bear paws on you, that's a wrap. You're not getting off of that. So that would behoove them to do the swipe and spin moves and rips and things like that don't allow a good tackle to get his hands on you.
Really interesting stuff. When we return, by the way, on the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff, Lee Company, all you need, visit them at leecompany.com. We will have our Pro Prop segment, and I have great news. We all won you money last weekend, baby. Ring that bell. Yes, that is right. Exactly. Maybe you want to listen to us now when it comes to Pro Prop segment.
Don't get carried away.
But also, I do want to also get into what the Titans' big plus this weekend on offense. We'll get to that and much more coming up in the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff here as the Titans take on the Washington Commanders.
What you talking about?
Welcome back into the Lead Company Countdown to Kickoff. Lead Company, all you need. Visit them at leadcompany.com. Also, they're there to tackle your HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home, too. Your next play, visit leadcompany.com. So we are now entering our Pro Prop segment. I've got great news. We all won you money last weekend, Jeff. We're going to bring in our producer, Jeff. Hey, Jeff. Big Jeff.
So that ruined high school and college for me. Don't.
Hey, Jeff.
What?
No. The My Name is Jeff thing from 22 Jump Street has ruined my life.
Oh, that. I got you.
That's a great movie, though. I love that movie.
But when I went on a date one time, legit, she went, "Oh yeah, my name is Jeff," and did that the entire night.
Did they?
I tell you, there was not
I'm
a second
sorry.
date. So
I'm sorry, Jeff, for that.
No. Yeah.
You are going to bring us, though.
Don't let it scar you.
Well,
I
it
know.
first started
Don't
with
let it.
Jeff Dunham when he went Jeff Fafa. I had that growing up, and
Okay.
then My Name is Jeff happened after that.
So you've had a lot of incidents. Well, you should just
Yes.
change your name.
I've been trying to. My mom won't let me.
Well, you got to get a nickname or something for.
Well, I grew up. My friends called me Hefe.
There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is your name Jeff or Jeffrey?
it's Jeffrey.
See,
Oh.
call yourself Jeffrey.
My mom doesn't even like my grandma. God bless her soul. Like she never even called me that. I don't think I could. I wouldn't be used to it.
Yeah.
And there's only one
Wouldn't be
Jeffrey, and
right.
that's Jeffrey Simmons.
That's true. That's true. Big
that's
Jeff.
Big Jeff.
Which
I can't
we
take
hope
that
he
from
has
him.
another big day. We had a big day, though. What did we bet on last week that we all hit jackpot on?
Well, Kayla, you had 200 plus passing yards for the Titans, and that hit pretty well. Brad, you had Titans rushing 100 plus.
Yeah.
Also went well. And Buck
the gallery.
had. Well, I think Buck lost.
Oh, wait.
He did lose.
what
Did he really?
I think he took the under.
He took the under for points for the Titans. He had under 22.5
Ooh.
because it was under the 17-point threshold, and he didn't.
And actually, Buck was the one that talked us into when we gave our who we thought was going to win. The Titans hadn't averaged more than 17 points, and of course they were giving up
That's
24 points. So I was
right.
like, oh, okay, well, might as well go with the Titans losing 24-17. They ended up putting up 30. 32 if you have the defensive safety at the last.
That's right, because we called him. He
okay.
didn't give us a score.
So I gave him credit where credit was not due. I am so
we
sorry.
want you
Do
to
folks.
not give Buck credit
Yes,
when
I
he is
will
not due.
do that.
Because he'll
So-
try to give himself credit for
He
some
will.
kind of way.
We
He
win
will.
you money. He didn't win you money.
Yes, Brad and I won you money, so you can
Okay.
thank us and then shame Buck. That's fine. That we can totally
This
let
is
you do
perfect. Perfect.
that. So what are we rolling with this week, Brad, for your pro prop?
Listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
True.
I'm with you.
You got Tyjae Spears back, which should then help take some of the workload off of Tony Pollard. But if you rush for over 100 yards on the road, it's important. And it also opens up a lot more of the offense that you're trying to run. So give me it again. It doesn't have to be Tony Pollard. Doesn't have to be Tyjae Spears. Doesn't have to be Will Levis. But the combination of those three, 100-plus rushing yards, and this Titans team walks away with a dub. So give me over 100 yards rushing.
Okay, Jeff, jot that down because I'm going with something very similar. Looking at FanDuel right now, and I'm going a specific player. Yes, I'm going Tony Pollard. And they've got him with the over at 62.5. Hammer it. Give me the over 62.5 for Tony
she said
Pollard.
hammer it.
Hammer it. Jeff, you got that?
This
Yes,
is why
ma'am,
I
it's
don't
written
gamble
down.
right here.
Okay.
Is because I would
This is
feel
why I
like
don't gamble.
Vegas is trying to pull a wool over my eyes. I'm
And
like,
that does
they're
seem
not
like
good
a
on
lot.
defense against the run. Why would they even set this at 62? Or they're thinking that they're going to split carries with Spears? I don't know.
'Cause he
I
is
would be
probably
like,
back, right?
something's
Yeah.
up here.
You're
They're
right.
trying to get me to set me up to bet this.
I
I'll be
feel
like, what are they doing? They have those big buildings
Yep.
in Vegas for a reason now. I don't know.
Did you hear the conspiracy about the Raiders Chiefs? Remember
Oh,
the
yeah.
Raiders were driving
Oh,
to
yeah.
score. I mean, they were driving to give the Chiefs their second loss of the year, right? Then all of a sudden, what was an errant snap by the center when Aiden O'Connell wasn't ready for it, it didn't turn into an illegal. It turned into an illegal procedure, which then gave the ball back to the Chiefs versus a false start, which would have reset the down with just 5 more yards tacked on, and they still could have scored.
See, I would be like,
Yeah.
what's going on here? Illegal procedure. That was a simple false start, but wasn't it false? You know what I mean?
That's when I'll start believing, like, some of these people keep saying the league is rigged.
Someone called it
There's
WWE.
been some weird things happen this year, though. That's for sure. right?
Oh, my gosh. How does that happen?
My goodness. Yeah, and Brandon said it's because of Spears' availability. I just don't think Spears is, even when he's been in, I don't think he's taken away that much.
No.
That's just my overall opinion on what I've seen. So I'll stick with it and feel comfortable with it. Blaine, I was going to say, though, I felt like when you said that, you'd second guess yourself. That's how I was with any math test. That's why I was not good at math. Every other subject, great at. With math, I'd second, third, fourth guess myself.
At least you had an excuse. I can't say I had one.
When we were speaking about the run game, though, this is interesting because you guys both had mentioned this earlier on in the show, that the Commanders' run defense has not been good this year. They have given up an average of 145.5 yards per game. And right now, that ranks 20, what did you say, 8
or 9?
In the lead?
Yes.
So they're at the bottom of the list when it comes to that. So you definitely have to run the ball. Pollard last weekend, 24 carries, 119 yard, averaging 5 yards per carry. He had that tutty too. But this is a situation where sometimes, like you said, Blaine, is it when it's too obvious? Can it be a problem? They've got Frankie Louvu, they've got Bobby Wagner, they've got guys who you can't look past.
Yeah, but
It's amazing they're still winning games. Well, they were winning games
because of their offense.
I know,
they're putting up points. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But when you can't stop, I think they're averaging 5 yards a carry to running backs in the league, which is 30th in the league. So it's just their inability to get off the field. Rico Dowdle from the Cowboys, he rushed for 85 yards last week. So,
by the way, that kid looks good.
Yeah, Rico Dowdle.
that guy's been good for them.
Oh, that's a nice jersey number.
Yeah, right?
Still, you see their problems of not being able to stop the rush, and which is what I said. If a team can run the football on you consistently, you got problems, man.
Yeah.
And I think that really comes down to, you don't normally see defensive linemen stay on the field for the duration. They tap their helmet every now and then so that we can get subbed in and keep fresh bodies so that way they can keep up the consistency and intensity of either a pass rush or at least their ability to slow down the run. But they just don't have that kind of depth, which ultimately ends up catching up to them.
I also wanted to mention that we brought up last week the red zone and the Houston Texans. That was a part of their defense they were not great at. They had given up a lot in terms of the red zone. This is the same thing with the Commanders this week in terms of red zone defense. They're not good either. 28th in the NFL, giving up 66.67% of the time down there. The Titans were just 1 for 1, but they took advantage of that last weekend. So there's another thing you could take advantage of if you get down there this weekend today against the Commandos.
That's why I was like, this matchup kind of favors. Don't you guys think?
It does.
The Titans with
I don't like that, man.
I know. I'm like, okay, haven't they lost 3 in a row?
They have. They have lost 3 in a row. The Washington
Philly,
Commanders have.
I'm like, man, and so we get a red zone. They're not good against the run. I'm like, okay, so this kind of favors us a little bit. Then you got the quarterback who's playing up and down at least over the last 3 weeks, and then his pass protection. But he's also a runner. Hasn't run as much here recently, so. That can always be a problem for defense. Our pass coverage on defense has been, Brownlee versus, Mr. Scary Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden hadn't rushed for a touchdown since week 4.
Yeah.
So it just kind of shows you.
I think this is going to be down the
rush
wire.
the football if you deal with the injury with some ribs?
Oh, wait.
I've not had that injury. I heard it is awful. To have anything
I think
bruised,
you have to have
whatever it might be.
You got to have some kind of confidence to run the football in the National Football League. And if you're dealing with a gimpy rib situation, that's the last thing I'm thinking about.
But it hurts even on breathing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I mean, man, I've had that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it doesn't go away. They've deemed him healthy, but he's still, you can tell, has been suffering from it. So
he hasn't been the same since. So hopefully we'll catch him on the downward tick. But, man, a team like that losing 4 in a row. What do you think?
I just don't like talking favorably for the Titans because then it just makes you feel like you're setting ourselves up for failure.
I'm just like, this is weird. I'm sitting back like, I don't know. But the Commanders, they found a way to win games, but not here recently. So maybe we must not forget. Oh, man, I can't believe I'm about to forget this. Kingsbury is the OC. Every time he's the OC, halfway through the season or so, the people figure out his offenses. Yep. And that's kind of been a thing. And this has happened when he was at Arizona. So, man, maybe it's that. So, with that being said, the Titans going to get him.
Exactly. I love it. I love Blaine's confidence this weekend. We're going to keep it rolling as the Lead Company countdown to kickoff returns. Lead Company all you need. Visit them at leecompany.com. When we get back, as the Titans take on the Commanders, we will bring in Mr. Buck Rising from Landover, Maryland. He is at the stadium as we speak. He's been getting videos all morning long, and we'll bring you the latest with him coming up next on the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff. Welcome back to hour 2 of the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff as the Titans get ready for the Washington Commanders this afternoon in chilly Landover, Maryland. It is going to be cold over there, so bundle up if you're over there. We're bundled up here in Nashville because it's chilly, but we like it. It's football time of year, and of course, we are brought to you by Lee Company. Facility managers need a reliable partner for their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical needs. They trust Lee Company's 24/7 service and their team of experts. Your next play? Visit LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. I got the crew here, Blaine Bishop, Brad Hopkins, Kayla Anderson in studio. Buck Rising will join us in just a moment. We are efforting to get him on the phone. But Blaine, you had a good question in the break you wanted to ask Brad Hopkins here.
Yeah, well, I didn't know the answer because I felt like I could get a cheat code if I was a D lineman every time the guard touches the center on snaps. And sometimes they fake, the snap and doesn't do it every time. Like when a guy taps him, then he looks back, the guard taps the center. Center has to have vision. But kind of explain why that kind of started and developed, because we never did that. So I'm wondering, where did that transition started happening? When did that come into the National Football League? Because you see it all over the place now. So when did that start?
It's just them. I'm not sure when it started, but it's them basically taking the noise from an away stadium out of the equation, because you can't hear the quarterback snap cadence. You can't hear it. You know what I mean?
Especially in shotgun, right?
Exactly. So what they're doing now is allowing the center to keep his eyes on the defensive front and have the guard look back at the quarterback and to determine when he's ready to receive the snap, right? If there were movement up front, then the center still sees that front 4, front 7, and is allowed to then make an adjustment, which would include the guard who is not looking, but he's the last person that you're worrying about making those adjustments. Now, for us tackles, for me, when they changed the rules of you being offsides, if you step across the line of scrimmage as a defensive lineman and I jump, it's offsides on you. Right. That helps me because now I don't have to hear the snap count. I don't have to watch the ball. I just watch you as a defensive lineman. Because as soon as you start moving, I start moving. You see, versus sometimes you're trying to look inside to see the ball being snapped, but then you lose sight of where the defensive lineman is because he might have moved further out or closer down onto you. And as soon as you look back, now you're trying to make an adjustment on the fly, which can get you into trouble. That's the same premise when you're talking about a center that is allowed to keep his eyes on the defensive front and then using the guards touching him on his hip to tell him it's okay to snap the ball. That's an adjustment they used to make. Now, I know you were asking the question, well, doesn't that give the defense kind of a tip on when to start trying to jump?
That's what those guys study. They zoom in on any movement of the ball or anything that they get a tip to get on those pass rushes. They do. They find out with the quarterback. They even look to the hands. As soon as they see the quarterback's hand when they were under center, sometimes that was a tip. When he opened his hands, that was always the snap count. They would give me all these tips that they would see. I was like, dang, how did you know to get up the ball like it? Because I was trying to ask on a blitz, like, how can I get me a tip so I can get a blitz? And they were like, no, you can't see his hands, but I studied his hands. It's really where some of the detail orientation of what they study to get a jump on, especially, a real good tackle like B-Hop.
Yeah, you're on the road. So the luxury of knowing the snap count isn't an equalizer. Right. You don't know it. So at this point, you just want to get all 5 guys off the line of scrimmage at the same time. So even if somehow the defensive lineman does get a tip on when we're going with the ball, it's better to have us all getting off at the same time versus someone getting off late. And even if you know it, then hey, it is what it is. But it's better than you sitting there in your stance while the guy's already taking 2 or 3 steps upfield and he's already by you. Now your technique's out the window and you're probably going to get the quarterback hit. So, I think it's just one of those things of just balancing things out as much as you can to say, hey, look, you don't have to listen for the snap count. I'm going to give you, and you're right. Sometimes you do center will do a double head
Yeah,
bob.
they do. Yeah.
Give you the double, and then that gets the guys going up front. And next thing you know, the 5 yards, we'll take that. 1st and 5.
Sure.
Win for us. But see, that's just some of the little tricks and little things that we do. In the trenches.
I love
a lot
bringing in
because
that
I didn't really know the answer. I was guessing, but that was good. And, it just goes into what B-Hop just said, though. The 5 guys getting off at the same time, he just reminded me just working in unison, because if one is moving before the other or vice versa, one later, now you're creating gaps there, and then now we're not working as one. It's really unique playing offensive line in the National Football League and working together and just kind of knowing the other guy right next to you is pretty cool to get to, play that position and kind of be in that kind of situation. And one false movement by one guy can mess around the ET side. Oh,
exactly.
That's it. If you get at different levels, one guy's slower, one guy's faster, that's just, it creates those situations that defensive linemen love. Mm-hmm. I love having you guys at different levels. I love having you create the space that gives me an opportunity to slip into the gap. I love it when you guys screw up. And using the snap count against him is sometimes the way that defensive linemen do it.
Speaking of screwing up, one guy that wasn't here at the top of the hour, I'm just joking.
We're talking about Buck, right? We're talking about Buck.
If you put it out there for me, I'm going to give you a hard time. No, I'm all joking. Our teammate Buck Rising joining us from chilly Landover, Maryland, where he is going to be covering the Titans and Commanders today. Buck Rising, so good to be joined by you this afternoon or morning.
Oh, please, the drama. 3 minutes. Unbelievable.
I'm going to stir it up, Buck. How are you, though? And how is the chilly stadium? Because I saw you out there. Yeah, he was getting, I think, Dan Quinn running steps, warming up this morning.
Yeah, it's really not that bad in the sun. The cloud cover is going to make the temperatures, drop throughout the course of the day. But I was talking to Calvin really a little bit pregame. It could be worse. He goes, yeah, it could be worse. And that's kind of where we're at with it right now.
Touche.
Well, we want to get started with, in terms of the Titans maybe getting something going here in terms of a streak. Buck, I don't know if you knew this, the last time that they had won 2 in a row, it was 2022, week 10 and 11.
Like I wasn't there to watch them lose 7 straight after that. Yes, I know the last time they won 2 in a row.
I mean, could you imagine if they do that?
October of 2022. It was the Broncos and then the Packers on Thursday Night Football. Then Todd Downing gets a DUI and the whole thing craters. So you can directly pinpoint so much of this pain and suffering going back to 2 years ago. But 35 straight damn professional football games without being able to win 2 in a row. It's the second most embarrassing streak in the NFL, beyond the Colts not winning in Jacksonville since 2014. It's hideous.
So you feel like right now this could be a team with the progress they've made, especially at quarterback, that could rattle off 2 in a row. And heck, who knows what happens after that, because you got the Jags coming into town the week after.
Oh, I don't know if they're capable of that. I don't trust them at all. But this would be a big point to move in that direction for sure. It would show some level of proof of concept. It would show progress from Will Levis if he's a meaningful part of them winning 2 in a row, because again, they're just trying to check boxes on the resume week after week after week at this point. This would be a considerable one.
I just wonder, Buck, I mean, we're sitting here coming up with logic that says the Titans have some advantages. And this has been a season where we really haven't done that much, So I kind of don't want to start now.
It's scary.
Right, it is. But when you look at the matchup, especially as dysfunctional as they've been defensively, them being ran on consistently, Jaden Daniels, his passing percentage has dropped, his QBR has dropped, all these things. What are you seeing in the matchup that just basically says, hey, this is a game that the Titans should win, and should we be thinking that way?
Well, the thing that I'm seeing, guys, is okay, 1 second, guys. The thing that I'm seeing is the advantage for the Titans as far as this team has struggled to kind of figure things out in season. Cliff Kingsbury can design an offense all that he wants to, but how he adjusts and adapts to that when people start to figure him out is a big part of the question. The other part of this is Jaden Daniels has dealt with significant injury, and you can tell how much that's limited them as far as what they're trying to accomplish, how much better they think that this team can be. So there are, and their secondary is terrible, which is why they traded for Marshawn Lattimore at the trade deadline. In fact, they just released a former first-round pick yesterday. So it's something to keep an eye on at this point as they try and figure out all the different ways that they're going to attack this team.
Buck Rising joining us from Landover, Maryland. That is where the Washington Commanders and Tennessee Titans will do battle today. Buck, are you needing to step somewhere else, or are you good? Sorry, I heard you say.
If you give me like 2 seconds, I can get right back with you guys.
You're absolutely fine. Buck Rising, he is navigating through the stadium right now. As we speak, he will get back to us in just a second. He was speaking about just, the progress that this team has had. And it is wild to note. I absolutely forgot when I thought about Broncos and Packers that was the DWI game, and that's what happened after that. It's been kind of
that's a long time ago.
The collapse of things. So it does seem like things are back on the right track. Isn't that wild, though?
Yeah. Who would have thought, though? Yeah, not just the 2 in a row, but that we'd be thinking this way about the Commanders. Just think like 4 weeks ago, and where the Commanders was on this high and rush, and even Jaden Daniels
Rookie
is
of
up
the
for
year,
no
possibly?
MVP.
Even. You're right,
MVP of the
You're
league.
right.
He was in that conversation, and
You're
to now say that the Titans, to Beehoff's point, in which we've been kind of talking about the whole way there, Kayla, is this. We're now talking about where the matchups kind of figure out here that the Titans have some benefits here besides the Commanders' offense puts up, like 27 points. They put up points. They have a great offense, at least scoring offense. And how does that match up with the secondary? Then they're, starting with stopping the run. They're real good at stopping the run. The Titans are.
Yeah.
And then you say they're not good. The Commanders' defense isn't good. So you just start saying, man, when you look at the matchups, not about the teams, but just numbers that they're not good at and what we are good at. And B-Hop's been saying the whole time, if you can run the ball, then that sets up everything else. So if they don't stop the running game, I think the Titans are going to get them.
Think about it like this.
That's
the Titans defense, and we're just looking the numbers, right? Overall, they're 2. The Commanders offense, overall, they're 6.
Wow.
The Titans offense overall is 24. The Commanders defense overall is 16. So you're starting to see, it's like this team struggles our team struggles when it comes to offensive output, as to where their team is really good at offensive output. Our team is really good defensively. Their team is really kind of average, if not below average defensively. So it just, like, what wins in that matchup?
I don't know, man.
Yep. We've got Buck Rising back with us. He is at the stadium right now getting ready for Titans and Commanders. You good?
Yeah, I'm all set.
He's all set to go. So we were just, kind of speaking of the advantage, maybe in terms of matchup that the Tennessee Titans have. I'll tell you one thing: we spoke about the run game, but also then that can open up things for Will Levis and his other weapons. Calvin Ridley being one of those who he has really started to get in his groove and showed why he was paid all that money to come here. Buck.
Yeah, no, it's good to see, and I think Calvin's been a shining example of putting in the extra work and finding different ways to attack his preparation and his week of progress, and getting as involved as he can possibly be in the offense. And ideally, would you like for that to have been an immediate, an instant gratification type of situation? Sure, especially when you know what the price tag is on a player coming in that way. But I think he's been excellent as far as that goes. I think he's really set the tone for the rest of that wide receiver room. And between him and Nick Westbrook-Akina, you feel pretty good about what you're trotting out here with against the secondary that is certainly prone to allowing explosive plays.
But when we're talking about also balancing this offense, Buck, you've got to at least be pleasantly, not surprised, but at least feel good about the Titans' ability to run the football and how important that will be, especially on the road. Tony Pollard rushed for over 100 yards last week. He gets a little bit of relief when it comes to not having to run every single play himself, with Tajay Spears back in the lineup coming off a concussion protocol. And also the way that they did use Will Levis, I think in 2 weeks ago, where he was running the football, more designed runs. He didn't do that near as much last week against the Texans. He did stand tall in the pocket and was throwing those explosive plays downfield. But their ability to run the football, is that one of the advantages that you feel the Titans have this week?
Oh, for sure. And the thing that makes me feel better about that, Brad, is the fact that the offensive line gets it done in the run game. Like, I know last week was not their best game in pass pro. They've had several games where they've struggled in pass pro. But I really like the way that they're executing their assignments. I'm not going to pretend to know all the different ins and outs of what they're being asked to do, but when you watch them on tape, the way that they're able to get second level, the way that they're able to cover the linebackers up and give the running backs the ability to maneuver that way, it's been pretty solid. And even Nick Petit-Frere showed some of that last week, which again doesn't mean that it's good enough, but it means it was good enough to go on the road and win a divisional game, which is all you're asking at this point. It's going to be a critical part of how this team at least tries to win today. This is a running football team. You guys know this. It's the month of December. This is where teams have to show what got them to this point if they're having success and having to continue to adjust and things like that. But this is who you drill down on what your core identity is or this is when you drill down on what your core identity is. And for this team, it's running the football. So they have to be able to accomplish that to set up everything else they want.
Just one more note real quick before Blaine, give it to you, Blaine. 24 carries. That, to me, says a lot. It shows their commitment to running the football because anytime you run under 20 yards, to me, I don't think the offensive line or even the run game itself has the ability to get on track. Not every play that you run in the run game is going to break for 5 yards, for 8 yards, for 12 yards. But when you consistently run the football like they committed to last week, giving the ball to Tony Pollard 24 times, it shows at some point in time there are more opportunities for the run game to break and have more effect. Just a note.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to ask him, he talked about MPF. Do you think he played well enough to at least be a backup in the National Football League?
Yeah, and I think so, Blaine. Right? Like if that's the level of play that he's going to bring on a week by week basis, it doesn't mean that you have to, be like, oh, okay, cool, we got the right tackle situation figured out. No, they very much do not have the right tackle situation very figured out. But that doesn't mean that this player is, left for dead. This is a former third-round pick. This is a draft choice out of Ohio State. This is one of the highest recruits in his class when he came out of high school at this point. This is a very talented player, and he didn't get here by accident, right? He earned his way to the National Football League, but now he has to continue to prove that he is capable of, if not being a starter in this league, a quality backup, a swing tackle or something, because it doesn't end for him just because his career here might not have panned out. The same could have been said of Malik Willis or guys who have gone on. Caleb Farley is on the active roster for the Carolina Panthers. Like, these things can continue to have second life. He's got to show, not just for the Titans, but for whomever might want to bring him in to bolster their offensive line depth, that he's worth spending whatever kind of money that might cost.
No doubt about it. I guess, and one more question for me is, do you think the Titans secondary, even though their numbers say so, have enough to contain Scary Terry and crew?
Yeah. And I know they've got a rushing attack there that they can get involved as well, but it's I wouldn't consider the rest of their skill players special necessarily. Now, you obviously can't let Terry McLaurin be the guy that beats you if you're going to be out here, and they've got 36-year-old Zach Ertz playing tight end and a couple of other pieces and parts that they've cobbled together. But for the most part, like, this roster isn't special. They just got off to a really good start with a quarterback that is special. And he's hit a little bit of a wall here, and so now they're trying to figure it out en route to having lost 3 straight games. But that Dallas loss is about as bad a thing as they have on their resume right now. And there are things that can be exploited here that the Cowboys put on tape.
Yeah, that was rough, definitely. Losing 4 in a row, that would be even tougher. But that is what happens sometimes. Some teams decline and some are on the uprise. You hope the Titans can be that team. We've got to get your pro prop before we let you go, Buck. And I have some good news for Brad and I. We won last week. You lost.
I love it.
No.
It's okay,
No, I didn't lose.
That's what Jeff told us. That's what Jeff, our producer, told us.
Did you pick rushing yards?
Yeah, I bet under Will Levis rushing yards. He didn't have more than 22 rushing yards.
Jeff. Hey, Jeff.
No. We don't blame Jeff. We blame Jeffrey.
Jeffrey?
Jeffrey.
No.
He had you down as the under, I
don't
think.
care what his name is. He got it wrong.
You're
what his name
is. We're all losing our minds. It's that time of the year. We're worn out. That's no excuse.
You sure about that, Buck? Yeah, I don't know, man. You change it.
He went under Will Levis rushing yards. What was that again?
I wrote it as 22.5 Titans points. That's my fault. It was the rushing yards. In my defense, I have been working since Thanksgiving.
That's okay, Jeff.
Oh, please.
Excuses are for losers.
Oh, my God.
No one cares.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so fine. We all won. We all won you money. So what are you going to give us this week, Buck, for Thanksgiving?
And a final score. Silence.
He's not there.
Is he on the phone?
He ran.
Broke up.
He ran.
I thought maybe he
got
just
so
hung
His
up
phone
on us.
was doing some sketchy stuff there for a minute.
Oh, no, I thought it was people in the backdrop talking.
It was, but you can't hear any background noise now, so that means his phone's not connected. So.
Something funky going on in Maryland today, I
okay.
guess. But we got him back. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there. And
Hi.
I'm pissed.
Sorry, I know. You know what?
You hung up. You ear hung up
okay.
on us.
We got
It's how
you.
a lot
We
of
got
us
it right.
felt like at Thanksgiving too, but that's just
We
the time
fleshed
of
it out,
year.
Buck. You're okay.
What are you going to give us this week then, Buck? You won last week too. Okay, sorry.
You're damn right. And I'm going to win again today because I'm going to take the under on this game. According to FanDuel, I think that this is going to be a slog. I think that both teams are going to I think they're going to be able to move the ball, but I think scoring is going to be difficult here. I'm imagining a lot of field goals today between the Titans and the Commanders, which is going to be interesting given how bad the Commanders' special teams situation was last week. They put Austin Seibert, their kicker, on injured reserve. They're working with a new kicker this week. I think it could be messy.
That's right.
I'm going the under.
Hey, Buck, last week we picked when we talk about wins and losses, I think you were the one that came up with, basically what made sense. The Titans were only averaging 17 points, if not lower than that, and they were giving up 24 points. So it seemed like 24-17, the Titans being on the losing end made sense. But then here we go, 32 points put up by the Titans. Was that an anomaly, the fact that they were able to have such offensive output on the road last week?
That, Brad, is what we are here to figure out today because that's a legitimate offensive performance. That's not 30-31 the weird way that they got it in Miami with, a bunch of field goals and a safety situation at the end, though there was a safety in this Houston game that they went about winning. No, they legitimately got the job done on offense last week. And the thing was, Will Levis takes sacks. They're for 1 or 2 yards, so they're not like drive killers necessarily, but it's still a loss. Manages that situation where they went from 7 sacks in the first half to 1 sack in the second half, how much quicker the ball was getting out. The situation for the Titans last week I thought was good because I didn't come away feeling like Will Levis left plays on the field. I thought he saw it pretty clearly. I thought he executed. And there are still some flaws to his game, which is fine, but let's find out if that can consistently be done or not.
So with that being said, who you think is going to win in the score?
Oh, no, I don't do score predictions. Get out of here, boy.
Oh, man. What do you mean? You said 24-17. We were talking about it last week.
Well, he just said that.
Who's going to win? Who's going to win?
Who's going to win? I bet the Commanders win. I would straight up. I would bet the Commanders money line. It would be really, really difficult to see a team like this drop 4 in a row. And I don't think that doesn't mean that the Titans can't play them close and continue to show things. But it's a tough game on the road this week.
Buck Rising joining us from Landover, Maryland. Hey, by the way, what'd you have last night? Because I love seafood, and obviously that part of the country got good seafood over there.
Chowder.
Throughout the course of the day, had some oyster stew, had a prime rib sandwich, had some crab cakes at 219 in Alexandria last night. It was delightful.
All right, to the shadows, Buck.
Nice. Good job, Buck.
Buck Rising joining us from Maryland as they get ready to take on the Commanders. It's so fun giving Buck crap because he'll take it. He runs with it.
I'm thinking that we're only one rib injury away from seeing the backup quarterback in Washington. And guess who the backup is?
Please tell us.
Marcus Mariota.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Who is a captain today? Who will go out and
That's
flip the
throwing a
coin.
little shade. That was on purpose.
I'm just saying, if Marcus were to come into the lineup, I mean, I don't know if he feels a certain way about playing against his former team, the team that drafted him. But when you look at offensively how the numbers have gone down for Jaden Daniels, somehow it still doesn't affect their offense because they're still one of the better offenses in the game. And maybe it's because they have, Blaine's former teammate in high school, Scary Terry, on the lineup and some other dudes. But we have gone, in almost a complete 180 when you talk about the beginning of the year and they're saying, my God, Jaden Daniels is a beast. He's the MVP. So now we're like, who is this dude? And if he was sacked 4 times last week, can you imagine if Big Jeff or Tavondre or Arden or somebody got to him consistently? It might be one of those tap-out type situations.
And speaking of that, that's what we're going to get to next coming after the break because in the last few games, he has taken the most sacks at any point this season. And so something's got to be figured out for them. Titans hoping that is not the case today. Big Jeff and Tavondre Sweat would like to eat. We'll get into that coming up next on the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff as the Titans get ready for the Washington Commanders. Welcome into the Lead Company Countdown to Kickoff. We keep chugging along here as we take you up to Titans radio coverage at 11 o'clock. And we are joined by the crew here, Blaine Bishop, Brad Hopkins, Kayla Anderson, Buck Rising. Thanks for joining us in the last segment. So, of course, you guys, we've talked a little bit about Will Levis. We've talked about the offense today. But I did want to dig a little bit deeper into what this defense will face today in Maryland as they take on the Commanders. Just a heads up, we've talked about Jaden Daniels, but 26 points in the last 3 of 4 games, but they've lost those 3 games in terms of the Washington Commanders. When it's all said and done, Jaden Daniels is really the key to their success, and that's why you saw them come out of the gate so strong. We had seen Jaden Daniels be his full self. He can run the ball. He can pass. He's a dual threat type of quarterback. This season so far, 2,613 yards passing, 12 TDs, 5 INTs. You guys, 3 of his last interceptions have been in his last 2 games. Also has been sacked 10 times in the last 3 games. So you've seen kind of a regression there on offense.
I think it's because he's not as dual threat as he once was at the beginning of the season. I mean, this is a guy before week 4 was running for touchdowns, obviously getting first downs with his legs, and that was something that you had to game plan for. I mean, remember him in college at LSU? The dude was like, he was a true dual threat guy. And when you're basically not delegated to the pocket, but when you just, you're not taking those risks like you were before you suffered the injury, and you want to stay more in the comfortability of the pocket, that kind of limits you a little bit. And then also doesn't put as much on the plate of a defensive coordinator that's calling a game against you. He ain't running out. He's not leaving the pocket. So now we can game plan for that versus having a guy spy on you, not getting the rush upfield to where all of a sudden it just opens up green pasture for him to take off and get those big, tough yards with his legs. So I think that he's just now at this point, at this phase of the season, having dealt with the injury, one-dimensional. And that does have an effect on them offensively.
Yeah, I haven't watched a lot of, the Commanders' offense, but I would say, it could be the offense and people figuring out Kingsbury's offense. That's kind of been a history here since he's been in the National Football League as you go down the stretch, on the schedule. The injuries to their offensive line could be a major factor as well. And then his own injury. So with his rib. So you just don't know where it's all coming from. To me, I'm not watching them on a daily or weekly basis, but you would think a combination of that. And then they lost some tight games and some not so tight. So kind of surprising. Once the expectations got high for the Commanders, all of a sudden they started disappointing. So did they handle success well? Those are all the things from afar. You're just watching like, dang, man, I thought this team was going to be really good. And then all of a sudden now they're kind of coming back to the middle of the road and fighting, for a playoff spot. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. I'm really, because the Titans are on the uptick. They are on the level or down tick. So that's always an interesting matchup when 2 teams play like that. The one with the hot hand may have the advantage, even though it's on the road. So you just don't know. I don't know. Matter of fact, who's favored? Do you guys know? I don't know.
Yeah, the Commanders are favored in this game. I do not know the number, but I will get it for
6.5
you.
at the moment.
6.5.
6.5.
Yeah. So that's still.
Dang.
I know it's not it's not a huge number, but kind of is a big number.
Dang.
Yeah, but they're still basing that on what? Their ability to score points, talking about the Commanders, versus the Titans'
And I
ability
said that,
to score
over
points.
26 points still in the last 3 games.
26-7.
Because that's the way you win ball games. You score one more point than the opposition, and guess what? You win. It doesn't matter if it's a pissing match with a skunk.
Yeah.
As long as I score 31 and you score 30, I win. You know what I mean? So that's the way it is. And they've been able to consistently, like you said, 26 points, I think, averaging, something like that.
Did the Titans go up? What is our average now? Did we get to 20 yet?
So, the Titans
Last week would
were
have
around
raised it
17.
just a little bit, but yeah.
They were around 17, and I believe because they're up to 18.4 points per game after 32 points last weekend.
Hey, a point
Yes,
and a half.
so
And 32.
slowly
I thought it was a
I
20.
wonder if
I mean-
Austin Eckler and Andrew Wiley, like you mentioned, their starting right tackle, he's not in. Both of those guys
Austin
are dealing with
Eckler's on IR now. They
concussions.
put him on IR.
Well,
Yeah.
that's bad.
I know.
If you have a concussion, to put you on IR, my goodness.
Yeah, that means they ain't too good.
Yeah,
But
that
he's
was
a
a
running
tough one.
back, though. I mean, he gets the pounding all the
get
time.
hit.
And he runs hard. hard.
Yeah,
he runs hard.
Blue collar.
That's why it's
Speaking-
important to get Brian Robinson back. Go ahead.
Exactly, which he is back. Brian Robinson is back. You know who else is back? Made it official. Jeremy Fowler just reported it.
Spears.
Rajay Spears is back. He cleared concussion protocol, so we will see him. The Titans inactives for today, guys. Cornerback Gabe Giulali, running back Joshua Kelly, tight end David Martin Robinson, and offensive lineman Leroy Watson. So no surprises there at all. Everybody else will be good to go. And of course, you're listening to the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff. Lee Company, all you need. You can visit them online at leecompany.com. So as we speak about this defense kind of finding its way, the front has been good. I feel like the front, especially the interior of this Titans defense, has really been finding its groove. You talk about Tavondre Sweat, right, who got his first career sack last weekend. Jeffrey Simmons, really things have opened up for him as he has not been double teamed as much because you do have Tavondre Sweat here now. And he even said on our show last week when he joined us after the victory on Sunday, he said, it's so nice to have a true nose tackle, next to me. And I think they're starting to build some really good chemistry there.
Yeah, and Blaine will speak to this more. I think coverage and pass rush are like a seesaw. They need one another because if a quarterback's holding on to the football because coverage is so good, then that just lends for more opportunities for the guys to get him on the ground.
And vice versa.
And exactly. So when the pass rush is so disruptive and they're getting in the backfield and making this quarterback, put the ball up sooner than he expects, then that creates turnovers, for the back end. So they need one another, to play a balanced attack this week and being disruptive and also locking down those receivers like Scary Terry and the other ones that they've been going to consistently, to allow turnover situations. Brownlee got his first turnover his first interception.
He did.
And so
Speaking
did
of
Kenneth
firsts,
Murray as a Titan. So, there's opportunities for them.
By the way, switching to middle, which was interesting.
Yeah, that was fun. That freed him up. He freelanced and made a couple. He should have actually had 2 picks.
You're right.
I
think he made the more difficult interception.
Right. It was really weird on that. But, I'm just interested. Hey, man. Are they going to have Brownlee's not matching up with? You think they wouldn't do that with Scary Terry? But
no, I don't think so. You'd have to have him bracketed a little bit.
Oh, man. But they move him around a little bit, too,
do.
in the slot. I mean, it's just a lot. So I definitely not. But, man, he had some up and down, and that's, playing cornerback in the National Football League. Before a rookie, I would say he's done a phenomenal job. Some of those deep balls, when he misses at the line and gets overly aggressive, and he did that with Nico Collins, and they just ran a go, and he was going, and then you got to see Nico had a whole nother downhill shift. And I was like, he started pulling away. It was like, I might have started press belling.
Exactly right.
Because that way he was doing there. So, Scary Terry has some of that speed, too. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. I would like always my former, colleagues from my high school to do well, but definitely want them to lose.
No.
I want them to lose, but you can do well or okay, but you gotta lose.
Jarvis Brownlee is a kind of a silver lining when you look at Legarius not being in the lineup and some of these other guys. Sure. You get a chance to look at these young dudes and them getting the reps.
Somebody's gonna be out the picture next year. I'm telling you, facts.
I mean,
he's cheaper,
and that's the thing too. Like Chidobe Awuzie is going to return soon to the lineup, but the facts are like he has not been available this year. And Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is showing some real promise for this team moving forward. And even coming,
Baker.
And Baker. Yeah. I mean, Baker has been really impressive for what it's worth in terms of just having to step up.
He gonna make him some money. May not be here, but I mean, he definitely showed he could be at least a 3 as far as outside corner at worst case scenario.
Exactly.
And some people gonna say, hey, he started the majority of the season. He looks really good.
Yeah. Amani Hooker's not on the
No, he was just sick.
Amani who was sick. I know that must have been bad down now because he was trying to come back. I guess he was in the locker room for most of that first half. They thought maybe he could get it out of his system. Yeah.
Right.
And
B-Hop, tell your story of playing sick.
Yeah, okay.
You already know this?
No. Well,
I know. Didn't you play sick with mono against the Steelers?
Pneumonia.
What?
Yes.
I had pneumonia, man.
I couldn't even believe it.
How could you even function?
I don't know how he was functioning.
I had
he was just that good,
Yeah, that's like Michael Jordan when Michael Jordan was sick and
Coming
came
out
out
both
there.
ends.
And it was like, you playing? I was like, okay, we shall see how this goes.
Wild.
Sometimes you can have more concentration when you're kind of not at your best.
Sure.
I just had FOMO. fear of missing out. I want y'all to win if I wasn't in there, man.
Oh.
That's impressive, man.
I don't know, man. We didn't even see him for a couple of days. So I don't know about that. That was pretty big.
I mean, the players aren't the same anymore.
You said that. I did.
Look,
we did not.
They ain't built like
I'm not going to dog
They not
them
like
on
us.
it, but
They not like us.
They not like us. Yes, exactly. I'm sorry. I like old school. I'm old school mentality myself, so I'm always about that tough
Kayla,
life.
once you started getting the throwing
Do we know another Kayla? Like we go, we're gonna see you spinning on your back and stuff.
Exactly. My grandpa was a Marine, so I was raised a little different. So as you're listening to the countdown to kickoff, facility managers, they need a reliable partner for their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical needs. They trust Lee Company's 24/7 service and their team of experts. Your next play, visit LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. So we spoke about Terry McLaurin. They've got Noah Brown there. Zach Ertz, yes, he's there, kind of up in age, but he's still making a difference over there. But here's the thing, guys. Their running backs, they have been banged up for the most part. They might get they're getting Brian Robinson back. However, he's still kind of been dealing with some things. Austin Eckler, he's out. He's on IR. Oh. And then we might see a little bit of Jeremy McNichols. Y'all remember him, the former Boise State running back that spent some time here? It's always running into some former
I
teammates.
liked him. I think he was number 35 or whatever. Man, he started
35?
coming on there. And boy, he wants some payback.
But when it comes to stopping the run today for the defense, that's what they always want to do.
Yes.
Sometimes easier said than done, but I feel like that's a task that can be achieved today.
Especially with the personnel. You kidding
That's
me?
what I'm saying.
You got Big Jeff, you got Tavondre, you got these edges guys and Keys and I mean, it's just to me, they are built to stop the run. You know what I mean? And that's why teams really, they don't abandon the run, but it's not something like you want to keep beating your head up against the wall when you know you're not having the kind of success that you would like to against this unit. Mm-hmm. But does that equate to them being able to get off the field on third down? Mm-hmm. That's what they need to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree with you, but Jaden Daniels, if he becomes part of the running game, and I'm not talking about scrambling, I'm talking about like read up. You see him doing sweeps
off-schedule play. Yes.
Read RPO stuff.
Yes.
I'm like, man, oh my God, that's why they have Marcus as his backup because he's somewhat similar player.
And we don't do well against running quarterbacks.
No,
y'all, I put the stats down here because I had this discussion with Arden Key. I know, and I had this discussion with Arden Key, not this last week, but the week before. I said, you guys have had some issues with these guys that can use their legs. And even the guys that don't usually use their legs have used their legs against the Titans. So let's go back
Stroud did too a little bit.
Exactly. Malik Willis. We all know what happened in that game. 73 yards on the ground for Malik Willis in that game and a touchdown on the ground. Drake made 95 yards. They won that game. Darnold it is what it is. 18 yards, though. They were still letting him get around. And Justin Herbert, they let him kind of move around and make plays. So that is something I hope that was a key focus for this Titans defense in this game.
Is that a rush lane thing, Blaine?
Yeah,
I think sometimes, but sometimes you just can't help because there are going to be creases at times, especially mostly pocket passers because you're trying to get after the quarterback. Guys who don't normally run, but they just take advantage of it when it's there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the Jaden Daniels type players, you got to stay in your lanes. And sometimes that slows down your rush. And then you got to have to cover so you don't have as much pressure, but you're sacrificing that you don't have creases. So it's a, pick your poison type deal. And sometimes they let them loose and say, hey, let's get after them. Let's, get the wide nine and go.
Yeah. Blaine's not talking about, when the quarterback has to scramble and he uses his legs. He's talking about getting Jaden Daniels incorporated in the run game. Like it's designed to go to him.
Just like we did Will Levis a couple games ago. Yeah, they did. So that is a little scary because he still does that. They maybe hadn't done it maybe as much with the rib injury, but I still see him on the highlights still running the ball, whether it's that way or him scrambling. I mean, man, and he's kind of a wiry guy. I thought he'd have some injury issues, but he really has done a pretty good job of being that he's kind of like Lamar. It's not running, but as far as his build, just a slender build, and it's not hurting.
But the thing is, when you have designed runs of which he can predict more of where the problem areas are going to be versus the play breaking down and him then becoming a runner, he knows when he can slide. He knows when he has the ability to get out of bounds. He can then take advantage of just getting as much yards as the defense gives him because it is designed for him to run it versus oh my God, the pocket is broke down. I need to get out. Next thing you know, I'm in the open field and getting rocked, in some instances.
Well, here's a game, and you just reminded me of this. Watch his pocket presence compared to Will Levis' pocket presence. This will be a game because I feel like maybe Levis is not such a dynamic runner as Daniels on the run and scrambling, but he is capable of filling those same things in those gaps, and maybe not as much as scoring a touchdown, but keeping the chains moving. Let's see if it's somewhat similar, or is Daniels just already that polished product in their, in his first year, Levis's second year.
And that's what's always interesting because, in these first round draft picks that are quarterbacks, some just hit, right? And some, though, it's a work in progress, or like we're seeing with Jaden Daniels, he has been good to start the season, and we've seen a little bit of regression. So how does he kind of bounce back today is an interesting thing compared to what Levis is going on, which is a different type of journey in terms of his development so far in year 2. Okay, guys, it's time for keys to the win, and let's get a score as well.
Oh, my.
Blaine.
Oh, man. I don't know. The Mayo King has to step up, man. That is Will Levis. Mayo King.
I keep seeing those commercials, too. I swear. They
I
run
see them more and more now. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, they run every break.
I didn't know he was that flexible.
I've been doing the splits on the Mayo cans.
I think they used your body to do that.
Was that AI?
Did you do the
They did it with the
Not
AI.
like that.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I can't do the splits.
I got to go back to my dancing days for that, man. And jazz and tap, that is.
What you got, B?
Man, I am so conflicted here with all the discussion we've had. I thought I came in thinking, the Titans got a real good shot. And I still believe that. I just think it's going to be closer than most. But you know what? I'm going to go all in. I'm going Titans to win 24-20. I don't know what's the total points on this. 24-20.
Okay. 24.
Maybe
I like
low
that.
score. I mean, for the Titans to win, they're going to have to put up over 20.
Remember when I kept saying, Tyler Boyd kept telling me over and over, we just got to score 24 points. Yeah. We just got to score 24 points. Well, the two times they've done it this year, over 30 they've won, and then that other game they got
24-20. I'm going
I don't
with
think that
Titans.
you want this to be a basketball score, and this is a team in the Commanders that put up points, right? So the way that the Titans can win is by lowering the
Ball
Commanders.
Control.
Right. So I don't expect them to be putting up points and giving the ball back to the Commanders for them to try and match touchdown for touchdown in situations like that. So I see a lower scoring affair, of which the Titans can win if they ground control like we know that they're capable of doing it, especially with Tyjae Spears back in the lineup. So I'm going to say 17-14 Titans.
Okay.
And I know 14 sounds crazy for a team that's put up 26 points on average, but that's what it's going to take to beat this team.
Time of possession.
Yes.
All of that.
And it always comes down to this, Blaine. You know this. The team that makes the least amount of mistakes.
Of course, yeah.
So I don't want to see the Titans all of a sudden convert themselves back to what we were seeing before and then committing turnovers that give the other team opportunity to put points on the board, right? Like giving them the ball in plus territory or giving a turnover that all of a sudden the defense turns into a score. So if they can limit those mistakes that cost them points and run the football, the Titans will come back with their second win in a row since 2022.
Yes. And the Commanders had some little snafus just like the Titans on special teams.
Yes,
They've given up some
did.
touchdowns. So maybe we reciprocate that. Maybe finally our special teams help us out.
Jackson, come on.
Yeah, Jaquan from last week, there's things that he needs to know and to grow on. And so you hope that you can see that. Yeah. You hope you can see that this weekend, right? I mean, in terms of special teams, though, we always forget Nick Folk is a special teams player. So we've got to give credit where credit is due on special teams. That man's balling.
Yeah.
You're exactly
over 52,
right.
Man, that was big.
You heard what Buck Rising said when he came on earlier, and we tried to force to give a score, and he won't give a score to us because he doesn't do that. But he doesn't think the Titans will win. He thinks it's going to be a low-scoring game, and he said a lot of field goals being made in this one. So if that is the case, I would say I like Nick Folk in that advantage. So, give credit where credit is due. My key to the win, guys, and I just mentioned it, is you've got to not let Jaden Daniels be Jaden Daniels that he was to start the season. You've got to minimize the use of his legs, I should say, because all these other quarterbacks that have done that this season and taken advantage of against the Titans for the most part, except for Drake May, they have been able to will their teams to wins. So you've really got to be on Jaden Daniels and not allow him to be his true self in this game. Other teams haven't done it in the last few games. You could be one of those teams. I think the Titans are going to win this one 24-23.
Ooh.
Oh, by a point.
So that's 24-20, 24-23.
Yeah.
You writing all this down, Jeffrey? I just want to say Jeffrey.
With us. I know.
He was standing there just letting the days
he's
like,
just taking it
I can't wait to go home.
I was just
appreciate
shocked
you,
you
Jeff.
had them scoring 24 points. I couldn't believe it.
I know, right? I'm listening to Tyler Boyd, and when Tyler Boyd said if we at least score 24 points, we're going to get wins.
I think they finally figured some things out. Let's see if they can do it consistently.
Calvin Ridley rushed. He got 95 yards. Tyler had 55 yards. Mm-hmm. They took advantage of the targets, right? Yeah. And he had a touchdown again for the sixth game and 7 outings. So there's the ability there. And if Will Levis continues to show the improvement from Teron Davenport did a piece on them this week.
Great piece.
Mm-hmm. And talking about Will's calmness in the pocket and them just waxing poetically about who he is growing into as a quarterback. And if he can continue to improve like that, then he's not a liability.
Absolutely. You've been listening to the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. We're going to bring you up to Titans radio coverage now. But in the meantime, we always say this on this show.
Tighten up!